Little girl signals dog in courtroom, judge's jaw drops at what happens next. The courtroom was tense, thick with whispers and quiet shifting on polished wooden benches. Cameras weren't allowed, but everyone present knew this trial was more than routine, it had caught the town's heart. At the center of it all sat a frail little girl, no older than 9, in a blue dress too big for her thin frame. Her small hands trembled as she clutched a worn, stuffed dog in her lap. Next to her sat a large golden retriever, quiet, watchful, its amber eyes focused on the child like it understood more than most of the adults in the room. This was Max, her therapy dog. And today, his presence would become more important than anyone could have imagined. Judge Peterson, a stern-faced man with decades behind the bench, scanned the courtroom, his gaze resting briefly on the girl. "We'll now hear testimony from Emily Walker." Emily didn't move. Her eyes locked on the floor, her lips pressed tightly together. A woman, likely the child advocate, leaned in and whispered something, but Emily only clutched her stuffed dog tighter. The room held its breath. It had taken months to get to this moment. Emily had been found wandering barefoot and silent near an abandoned barn just outside of town. It was later revealed she had escaped from a situation of severe neglect and suspected abuse. She hadn't spoken a word since the night she was rescued. The trial was to decide custody, and bring justice to those responsible for her suffering. But the prosecution's case needed Emily's testimony. Just when it seemed she wouldn't speak, Emily lifted her head slightly and made eye contact with Max. She tapped her fingers twice on the stuffed animal's head, an unspoken cue. Max immediately stood and walked in front of her, placing his large, gentle paw on her knee. Everyone watched. The dog stared into her eyes, steady and calm, and then something miraculous happened. Emily took a breath. A long one. And then whispered, "Max says it's okay." Gasps echoed in the room. Judge Peterson blinked. The court stenographer stopped typing for a split second. Even the defense attorney, who had been skeptical of therapy animals in the courtroom, leaned forward. Emily sat up straighter. "I don't want to go back there," she said, her voice soft but clear now. "They hurt me. But Max found me. He barked until someone came." The courtroom froze. That part wasn't in any report. Max had been out with a volunteer rescue worker that day, he was supposed to be getting fresh air. No one had put together that he had wandered off on his own and led searchers directly to the barn. Emily continued, growing stronger with every word. "He stayed with me all night. He licked my face when I cried. He didn't leave even when I couldn't move. He knew I was there." Tears welled in the eyes of many sitting in the pews. One juror reached for a tissue. Another looked down, visibly moved. Then came the twist no one expected. Emily pointed toward the man sitting at the defendant's table, the one who had claimed he was her uncle and that he'd been looking for her for weeks. "That man, he's not my uncle. He said I belonged to him. He lied." A buzz of whispers erupted until the judge called for order. "You're sure?" the prosecutor asked gently. Emily nodded. "He tried to grab me once before, when my mom was sick. She said never to trust him. He wanted to take me away." Judge Peterson stared down at the man, whose face had gone pale. The prosecutor turned to the defense table. "Your Honor, we request a temporary suspension of proceedings to investigate this new claim." The judge raised his hand. "Granted." But his eyes never left Emily. "Young lady, you've been very brave today. Thank you." Then the most unexpected thing happened. The judge stood up, descended from his bench, and slowly approached the witness stand. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward Max. Emily looked at Max, then nodded. The judge crouched beside the dog and gently petted him. "I've seen a lot in my years in this courtroom. But I've never seen anything like what I just witnessed. That dog didn't just help you, he helped all of us see the truth. The room was quiet. Then Emily did something no one had seen her do before. She smiled. In the days that followed, the man claiming to be her uncle was proven to have no legal or biological connection to Emily. More troubling links to child trafficking surfaced, leading to further investigations and arrests. Emily's real relatives, an aunt and her partner, were found across the country. They had spent years looking for her, not even knowing she'd been alive until the trial made national news. Max stayed by Emily's side through it all. He was more than a therapy dog now, he was family. When the adoption was finalized, Judge Peterson personally officiated the ceremony, a rare honor for him. Standing in the small family courtroom that day, he gave a short speech. "We live in a world that's often loud and cruel," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But sometimes, healing starts in silence. Sometimes, the smallest soul, with the help of a loyal friend, reminds us that truth can be quiet, and still powerful." Emily looked up at Max, who sat tall beside her in a blue bow tie. She reached down and tapped his head twice. He wagged his tail and leaned into her hand. Everyone in the room smiled. Years later, Emily would go on to write a book titled Max Found Me, which became a bestseller and helped raise awareness for therapy animals and children in trauma recovery. Her story inspired new laws to allow therapy animals in more courtrooms across the country. But perhaps the most touching moment came during an interview when Emily, now a teenager, was asked what she remembered most about that day in court. She paused and said, "I remember being scared. But then I looked at Max. And he looked back like he believed in me. That's when I knew I could speak." Sometimes the loudest change starts with the quietest voice, one whispered truth, one gentle paw, and the courage to believe that someone will finally listen.